Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bear Insider's Ultimate Insider. I'm Mike Pawlawski, former Cal quarterback, and today hosting a podcast with the other side of the ball. I mean, I bring the offensive guys on all the time, and it's always quarterbacks, it's receivers, it's, guys who played that position. But this year, I've kind of ventured out. We had Dwayne Clemens on earlier, and now I'm bringing back defensive linemen. The other night, I had the opportunity to go back to career night at Cal, and I was at the broadcasting table and kind of author and everything that I do. And we sat down with our guest today, who was an absolute stud, just a great dude. It was a lot of fun at the table, asked all the right questions. And to me, he is the example of what defensive linemen look like at Cal. This is what it is. So I'm always super proud when I talk to our defensive linemen, and they sound like our guest today. I'm going to let you hear him now. TJ Bollers, welcome to the show, brother. Great to have you on.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I love it. So you go to other places around the country, the SEC especially, and defensive linemen are not going to sound as good as TJ does today. So you'll see that, you'll hear it, and you'll be proud of being a Cal guy. Talk to me about that. You originally actually came from the Big Ten. You're an Iowa guy growing up, right?
Yes, sir.
And so you go from Iowa to Wisconsin, right, out of school, and then you end up at Cal. Talk to me about that journey. How'd you end up out in Berkeley?
Yeah, well, actually, I was born in Jacksonville, Florida, right? My dad, he was playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Him and my mom had met while my dad was in college, actually, at Iowa, and then they had traveled to Jacksonville, had me, had my sister, moved to Missouri for a little bit, and then we went back to Iowa, be closer to family and stuff like that, and then I grew up in Iowa. But from there, yeah, my recruiting took off my freshman year, right? I went to Clear Creek and Manna, and from there, yeah, I went from Clear Creek and Manna then to Wisconsin. Was at Wisconsin for 3 years. So I saw Coach Chris, and then I also saw Coach Fickle. And then after year number 3, I was like, hey, I got to find something new. I got to find time. Got to find playing time. Just opportunities to get on the field more. And I found that here at Cal. So once I hit the portal, Coach Browning, he was the first person to hit me up, and then from there, yeah, committed the day that I visited. Hit the ground running ever since.
So my very first start actually came at Camp Randall. I was, as a junior, we went back there to go play Wisconsin when Barry Alvarez just took over as the head coach. Mm. And so that was my first start. I have fond memories of Madison. Tell me about Madison. How'd you like it while you were there?
Yeah, Madison is a great college town. Everything that people ever say about it in the media, whatever, like, it is 100% true. Like, Madison is fantastic. Like, and I feel like that goes honestly for a lot of Big Ten schools, because a lot of the times the college and the college town is like what there is to do. Like, it's the hot topic, it's the big scene where everybody goes, so football games and basketball games, shooting in Madison, it was hockey and volleyball as well. Like, stuff like that is always huge, and people love going and supporting the local college. So the support that we always got from the fans and just people in the state, like, that was always huge. And it was a lot of fun to play out in Camp Randall and all that. So yeah,
I bet. Yeah, I bet. People always call Madison Berkeley of the Midwest, right? They say the same thing about Austin, right? UT Austin. It's the Berkeley of Texas. Mm-hmm. How do they compare?
Well, for one thing, I would say that Berkeley's actually a lot quieter, it's a little bit easier to walk campus. Madison's campus was huge. I mean, walking from the stadium after workouts in the morning, mile and a half across to try and get to class, and then walk up giant hills every single day. Like, that wasn't the best. But not like I mean, both of them have their pros and cons. You know what I'm saying? Here, obviously, the weather is so much nicer. You're not having to walk backwards through, negative 40-degree winter with the wind chill going crazy. Like, so, I mean, that's a huge plus. And I mean, you can't beat the view from up by the Campanile looking straight down into the bay. Like, that's just something you can't beat. You don't get that in Madison, So, but they both have their pros and cons. But I would definitely say that I like it here a little bit more.
Yeah, well, not having snow and blizzards is a big start for me. I grew up in SoCal and then came to school at Cal, and so snow and super cold weather for me is a non-starter. I don't love it. I can survive in it for a little bit, but I don't want to live in it for sure. And yeah,
Well, snow.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, I grew up with snow my entire life. I remember when we actually moved to Iowa, it was the winter of 2008, right? And Iowa had it was like one of the most like recorded snow that they've had in a while. So I mean, like I'm no stranger to snow, grew up, we would always have like just build giant forts. We'd watch the snowplow come by, and just pile it up just into the back because I used to live on a dead end, right? Because after that it was just farm fields. But so the snowplow would come by and it'd pile it all up at the end of the street, and me and my friends we would build just giant forts with all the snow, have great snowball fights, literally just spend all of our time outside whenever we could, So like I'm no stranger to snow. Sometimes I actually prefer it. Like for Christmas, this year not seeing snow at all for Christmas, that was kind of weird for me, because I'm very used to seeing white Christmases.
Right. Yeah, for sure. That is something, right? If you used to seeing snow for Christmas, it changes everything out here. I used to laugh because I was a kid. We'd get frost in the backyard. I'm like, ooh, it's a white Christmas. We got frost on the grass. It would last about 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Then it would all go away. There's 70 degrees that day in Southern California. So how do you like Berkeley? Tell me what you like about Berkeley. What are the things that kind of stand out for you?
Yeah, Berkeley is great. One thing that you find out here compared to any of the other places, especially Midwest, is going to be number one, diversity. The amount of people and the amount of cultures that I've seen just from being out here, honestly, it's going to be a year in May that I've been out here. So right now I've been out here for less than a year, but just in that time, the amount of people that I've met and the amount of cultures that I've been introduced to have been absolutely insane, and I like that a lot because coming from a predominantly white area of Iowa, right, and going to a predominantly white school for high school, like you just don't get exposed to as many things. You don't get as exposed to as many cultures and foods and just like ways of living, right? And so being out here was a really big like eye-opening experience, and I enjoyed that a lot. Another thing too, again, can't be the weather. Like that's huge, and I mean, just like the beauty of campus and just being able to walk and like the way that people talk and how smart they are, like that, it makes you feel like sort of comfortable almost, kind of being in an area where people around you are like-minded, with like in terms of the students and then also in terms of the student athletes here as well. We've got a lot of smart people on our team, and that pushes everybody to do better and everybody to try and, go for gold and push for the highest level that they could be.
That's one of the things I always talk about. When I left Cal and going into a pro locker room, you didn't realize what you had at Cal until you left, right?
Mhm.
So until you get outside, and you never realize what you have until you lose it. But you get out of that locker room, you get in other locker rooms, and there were some schools where there were guys that I played with. I'm like, really? Like that's a university, and they like that's what comes from. Like that's not okay. They must have remedial classes or something. So, there's some schools that did not hold, let's say, the academic rigor that we do at Cal, and their student body and their athletes showed that. But I appreciate the fact that you're at Cal now. Like I said, your defensive lineman can come on a podcast, hold your own at any time, and I love that. Talk to me about football now. Let's talk about you grew up. Your dad's an NFL player. What position did he play, by the way?
He was a fullback.
Okay, so he's a fullback. What was that like for you growing up? Like, dad, my son, obviously, his dad was a pro football player, and I saw what that was like. What's it like for you growing up in it?
Yeah, for me, honestly, my parents tell me this story or told me this story all the time when I was growing up, and they were like, when you were born, like we had you in the crib, and we put down a baseball, a basketball, and a football, and you kicked away the basketball first, and then you kicked away the football second, and you were left with the baseball, and that was all you wanted to do was just play catch or hit the ball or whatever, right? And like I absolutely love baseball, and my parents they never pushed me to like play football or like follow that route, right? That was all up to me, because I had opportunities to go and play baseball, but it's like at the end of the day, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. Like I was a catcher, and then when I wasn't catching, I was just the designated hitter, like I played some outfield here and there, but really it was catching for me. And I mean, being 6'3", 260 in high school, like that's not a position where there's a lot of longevity there. There also, there isn't a lot of money in baseball when you get to college. And I was like, man, like, I'm going to take this opportunity. I still love playing football. And like, that's what I want to do. Like, here we go. We're going for this. Boom. I've got all these offers. Like, I've got the opportunity to go and get a great education, and also play the sport that I love. And so, I mean, from there, like, my parents, they were there for me every single step of the way. It didn't matter which direction I chose. But they made sure that I was very well-rounded. And so sports wasn't the only thing that I was doing. I was in the band. I was part of the National Honor Society, Student Council, and all that stuff while I was growing up. I did a musical actually with my sister. My sister, she's big into the arts, singing, dancing, all that stuff. And so I had done one with her. And then in Tiffin, it was a town right on the outskirts of Iowa City and Coralville. So kind of like right after us, it was all just farmland, So like growing up, like in elementary school and middle school, I was like, man, I'm just gonna be a farmer. Like that would be great, right? So I made sure to get in with my friends, and try and kind of get into that, see what that was about. And so, I was exposed to a lot. I had a lot of opportunities as a kid, growing up in Iowa, just to see things from like different perspectives, until I really started to get recruited. Then I was like, yeah, sports, like, here we go. We got this.
That's cool. Very cool. Sign of intelligence too, right? The more things you want to try out and kind of learn about as a kid, you just get fascinated by stuff. It's pretty awesome. You said you were in your band. What was your instrument?
Man, I was a saxophone player. I still actually have, yeah. I still actually have my my alto saxophone at home. My brother, he played it for a little bit. He's not in the band anymore. Just joined. Well, he just got into high school. He's a freshman this year. And just like the playing four sports and being in the band doesn't really work out well. A lot of times it conflicts. And so once I had gotten to high school, I had to give up the saxophone, which, I mean, that hurt because like I absolutely loved it. Like I was doing concert band, I was doing jazz band, and then I was also in the marching band from 5th grade to 8th grade was when I played.
So cool. That's awesome. I was a drummer myself,
Yeah.
so I
Okay.
played the drums. And you said you were
Yeah.
musical. What musical was it, and what part did you play?
Yeah, so this was probably I said probably around like 5th grade was when I did this. And it was Aladdin. And I didn't have a super big role. I was a let's see, I was Prince Baba of Ganoush. And this was like it was when Jasmine, she was like sitting there and she was meeting all of like the different princes that had came to see her. So I was one of the princes, and they actually made me do like a freestyle dance. And like I'm just a 5th grader. Like, I don't know how to dance. So they just brought me out there and I just started just busting out some moves. And then to follow me, there was like the tap instructor, right? And so they go and they put on this song for him, and he's going absolutely crazy, like with his tap shoes. And I'm like, man, like this guy's blowing me out of the water. Like, man, it's super easy to follow up for him, but I mean, still, I was like, oh gosh, like I got to step up my game. So the next couple of shows, I broke out the worm, and like just tried a whole bunch of different stuff, just to get some cheers from the audience. But yeah, so Prince Baba of Ganoush, and then I was like the grocer, and then just like in the ensemble and like dancing and singing and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely awesome. The fact that you went out there and did it is awesome. You know what Baba Ganoush is,
Yeah.
right? You know what that is?
Isn't it? It's like a dessert or something, isn't it?
It's a food. So it's a food. It's like a
Yeah.
it's made out of eggplant. It's delicious.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I knew that it was. I'm mixing that up with something else. I did know that it was a food though.
Yeah, balaclava or baklava or something like that.
Yep.
It's like really good.
Yep, that's right.
So
That's right.
I'm getting diabetes just thinking about it. All right. So that's awesome, dude. I absolutely love that. Now let's talk about kind of your Cal experience. What made you choose Cal? And then what was it like coming in? Because you were a transfer NIL guy coming in, right? So you transfer out here for opportunity to play. Talk about what that was like coming into a new locker room.
Yeah, so like I said, Coach Browning, he was the first person to hit my phone as soon as I entered the transfer portal. Like the announcement went out, I got the email that my name was officially entered into the portal. And then like, an hour later, I'm on the phone with Coach Browning and he's talking to me. He's like, "Hey man, like we want to get you out here." And I was previously recruited by Cal. I was recruited by them coming out of high school. And so I had already had a great relationship with Coach Wilcox and Coach Browning, and all those guys going into or coming out of high school through that whole experience. And so since I had already made that relationship and made that connection, and knew that like these people are already in my corner and they want me again, like I felt like it would be silly for me to pass up somebody that's going to give me a second chance to come and play for them. And like the relationship and the fact that like I was still going to be able to play Power 4 football, because I didn't know what I was going to do when I entered the transfer portal, right? I was like, you know what? Like, I'm betting on myself. Here we go. Like, we're just going to see what happens. I had no idea. But to get that call from him and to hear that, like, they still wanted me, like that was huge for me. So, like I said, I committed right then and there on my visit. And from there, I got in contact with guys like Akili Calhoun, Derek Wilkins, and then obviously Aiden Kiana, he was already here as well. And it kind of gone through spring ball with them. And we just clicked instantly, all of us, and just like created this great bond. And coming into the locker room, I felt comfortable. Like it wasn't a hard transition for me because like I felt like the people that are in the locker room were people that were just like me and had the same goals as me. And that made the transition seamless.
Yeah, you would fit. I mean, you're just a natural fit for Berkeley, right? You remind me of all the guys that I played with, the D linemen that I played with from my team. Just good dudes, sharp dudes that would fit right in. So I would think it would be pretty good in a Cal locker room to come into. Some locker rooms probably not, but I would think Cal locker room pretty good one to come into if you're a sharp dude. What are your skills? What do you do as a player that makes you unique?
Man, stunts, man. Like anytime I see a stunt call coming from the sideline, like I know that is my time to shine. You know, we have this conversation a lot in the defensive line room, just as players, talking about like our strengths and our weaknesses. And like that is always the thing that the guys say. That's always the thing that pops out on film. Like that is my number one thing, I would say. From there, playing the run and also pass rush, like that stuff. This would be my second season playing interior D-line coming up, right? So still plenty of room to grow, but the growth that I saw from when I actually officially started getting reps on the field as an interior defensive lineman to the end of this spring ball, like it has been like night and day difference, because like I've got great coaching and I've got great guys behind me that have allowed me to really hone in on my technique. But I mean, there's still plenty of room to grow in the run game. And also as a pass rusher from rushing interior, maybe from a 0-1, 2-eye or 3, wherever that may be. But yeah, like I would say that my pass rushes got a lot better. I was winning a lot of one-on-ones. I felt like I was very consistent in the run game throughout the spring. I feel like I'm a really well-balanced player at this point.
That guy is an important guy in a locker room, right? A guy who can play anything from a 0 to a 3. Super important. What if you had your choice? If in a perfect world, what would you be, a 1? Would you be a 3? Would you be a 0? What would you be? Like even all?
Man,
prefer.
Yeah, I like playing it all, honestly. Like even fronts, odd fronts, like just something where I can go in and just get my hands dirty. I started off as an outside linebacker, and at that position, you're dropping out into coverage or maybe you're rushing sometimes, and then playing the run, you're either going up against a tight end or you're really just setting an edge, like, so the game, it slows down a lot faster for you making that transition from like high school to college as an outside linebacker. as an outside linebacker. But like once you move inside, like you're in the fire every single play. You know, you might be getting one guy, two guy, three guys on you trying to cover you. And I mean, like you just gotta grind. And that's what I like about the position. Like every single day, Coach Browning comes in and he says, you gotta be a little bit crazy. You gotta be not right in the head to come in here and love doing this every single day. And I mean, that like I'm that guy. You know, I love coming in and playing defensive line every single day. Like it's just somewhere where I can just go in and just like hit and strain and just fight and claw, just like be as nasty as possible, you know? And I love that about the position. And like, it's just different from others because every single time it's you against him and you're not going to beat me. And that's the mindset I take in every single day.
That's awesome. It's a grudge match. That's beautiful.
Every time. Yep.
One of the things that when I talk to coaches about you this spring, especially, is that they said you've really stepped up as a leader, become more vocal, kind of talk about your team. What is behind that? And tell me how that's working out.
Yeah, I would say that the big switch for me came when we got our new strength staff. Coach Novak and his guys, they came in and, you know, we are around the strength coaches 95% of the time we're on campus, you know, like, oh yeah. And when you come in as a strength coach, like the guys that you look for are your leaders, the guys that are standing out and doing everything right, doing the drills right, doing the warm up right. Like something as simple as making sure that you're not showing up to the weight room with jewelry on, you know. Those are the guys that they were looking for. And I must have stood out as one of those guys because all of a sudden I went from, you know, just the transfer guy that came in from Wisconsin, had a pretty good season the season before, to somebody that the team is looking up to and someone that is like, you know, being more vocal and leading by example and all that stuff. And Coach Novak challenged me to do that by putting me in uncomfortable situations, right? So he would make me, you know, break out the group. He would be like, hey, you know, lead this warm up. Hey, you're taking the D-line guys. You guys are doing this. Hey, you know, it's really quiet over here. We need some more chatter D-line guys or big guys, whatever it was, that we were doing that day. And that challenged me to become a much more vocal leader than I was before, right? Because I feel like before I was a good leader by example, but that's not what you need all the time. Sometimes you need that guy to be the voice. Sometimes you need that guy to say something and get across to the players that the coaches necessarily can't do, you know? And that was one of the ways that they had challenged me throughout all of winter training and then throughout all of spring ball as well. And so, I mean, I took that on the head and like, here we go, you know? So I'm trying my best to make sure that I keep growing in those aspects, keep growing as a vocal leader, and then also stay on top of being a leader by example, you know, being the first person to drills, being the first person in line for warm-ups, you know, calling up the team, doing the stretches, doing the warm-up before the warm-up, making sure I'm doing all the small things right, so that people see that and then they want to follow. And then once they start following, then I can start getting into my vocal leadership. And then boom, there we go. Like created a leader and a follower group. So
absolutely. Yeah. And it's so important, right, that you have to have those guys because the main voices, the loudest voices are the ones that people repeat, are the ones that people believe. And if you don't have people saying the right things, if you don't have the leaders at the top saying the right things, then teams splinter. And so the strength of it, and my team finished number 7 in the country my senior year. We won 10 games. The strength of it is having strong enough leaders at every spot and guys that stand up. When things get tough, human nature is to kind of pull apart. And if you have the voices that are there to pull people together, it's a huge asset for a team. So I applaud you for that, brother, and I appreciate you as a Cal guy. I really do. That's awesome.
So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talked the other night, obviously you were coming to the table talking about broadcasting. I think you're an absolute natural to get into this field. Talk about kind of all of your options out there. What are you considering when you're done with Cal? What do you want to go into? Talk about where you take it from here.
Moving on from Cal, afterwards, you know, say that the NFL doesn't work out for me. I want to do absolutely anything I can in sports media. I love the production side. I also love the speaking side. So I would be willing to step into any area of sports media that would allow me to do something to still be in sports and still be competitive, because that's what I love about sports. And I was actually, I'm taking a sports management class right now with Professor Solly Fole, and he brings in guest speakers. Yeah. He brings in guest speakers every single week. And one of the guest speakers from just this last Monday was Danny Barrett. Rugby player, right, for Cal back in the day. And he had asked a question to the group, and he was like, like, what's your why? Like, why do you love playing sports? Why do you come out every single day and go through the pain and go through the hardships that come with it and all the victories that come with it and everything? And I was like, well, because I love being competitive, and like that's why I love it. In sports media is something that allows me to still be in the competition without, destroying my body at the same time. And like, ever since I was a kid, probably like 8th grade, I was making beats and I was DJing. I still DJ to this day. I produce music, audio engineer. I'm actually working on a video right now for this group project that we have coming up next week, right? So I'm working on the video, I'm doing the audio and the production for that. And just like, I'm trying to dip my toe into as many areas as I can to try and grow my experience and grow kind of like just the skills that I have in general, so that once I come out of college, I can be a top candidate for, an internship spot or a starting role, and then just grow from there, because I absolutely love learning. I love being curious. I love asking questions. And I feel like that's going to take me a long way once I get out of college.
You going to come over to our draft show at ABC 7 on next Thursday?
Of course. I'll be there.
Yeah, you'll be there live. I'll introduce you to the producers and everything over there. We'll bring you on. You can check it out. We'll even probably get you on the set at some point, let you kind of talk a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably not live, but we'll give you some your cameo reading off the telly. So but we'll bring you over there. That'd be awesome.
That'll be awesome. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Well, love having you. And I love having you on the show, man. So good having you in Berkeley. I love the fact that you're a Golden Bear now, and I appreciate you coming on with me here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Absolutely. Everybody at home, TJ Bollers. That's what a defensive lineman at Cal sounds like. So that's what I was talking about. Like, intelligent guys, they can hold their own any conversation. And I love that about our university. It's just such a special place with such special people. And TJ, now his name on that list as well. I appreciate all you guys watching. I'm Mike Pawlawski, for Bear Insider, Ultimate Insider. As always, go Bears.